Hi guys, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host Indira, and today I'm here with Mia Waldmann. She recently finished 6th in her first ever GB Vest at the European U23 Cross Country Championships. She also broke 16 minutes in the 5k for the first time and has had an all-round stellar season. But it didn't come easy. Mia was taken out for almost the whole of the past year with a serious and painful injury. She went through it both physically and mentally, but in this episode, she shares her journey of how she navigated herself through a difficult time and how a shift in mindset brought about by this hardship has led her to unlock more of her full potential and a range of amazing opportunities running-wise. There's lots to learn from and be inspired from in this episode. Especially if you're going through a difficult time, this episode might bring you the hope and inspiration you need. Okay, as always, please be sure to give a rating if you've been enjoying the show, as it helps give credibility to the podcast so I can keep bringing you guys the guests you want to hear from. Also know the episodes are video format on both Spotify and YouTube, and be sure to head to the YouTube channel for more and other new content to come in the upcoming year. Okay, let's get into this episode. Hi, Mia, how are you? And welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Indira. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Busy day, but here we are. How about yourself?
Yeah, pretty busy day. I've been in uni and then trained and then come back. But it's nice to have a slow evening, not be back late.
Yeah, definitely. And was it a particularly good session or?
I just went for a swim. No running today, just a nice relaxing swim. So yeah, it's enjoyable.
Oh yeah, swimming can be really nice. I have to say I was
Yeah.
in the pool this morning myself, so definitely rate that. And you talk there about, nice being back a little bit earlier. Does that mean that often maybe with the way uni is, or perhaps when you were maybe say on placement, you ended up training later quite often?
Oh yeah, when I was on placement, the most recent one, it was a really long commute because it was in central London, so it took about 2 hours to get back. And yeah, so there'd be some evenings where I wouldn't get back until about 8, and then would have to go and train or something. You feel better after it, but yeah, you don't get much sleep.
Gosh, 2 hours, that's a lot for a commute. 2 ways, 4 hours. Wow, that is
Yeah.
a lot. And yeah, sleep's definitely something that is so, so important. And to kind of kick things off then, would you like to introduce yourself as an athlete and how you see yourself in that respect?
Yeah, so I'm Mia. I do running. I'm better at sort of the longer stuff. I've never tried 10K or anything, but I really like 3K, 5K. Um, I enjoy cross country, a bit of track. I'm enjoying a bit of everything at the moment. So yeah, that's
Amazing.
me.
Can never have your finger in too many pies. And, you say enjoying, but you're also smashing it out there across everything, from cross country to road
Thank you.
to track. So, in such a short space of time as well. And I think that's what makes your journey to date so exciting at the same time. And yeah, it'd be great to sort of dive into that experience for you so far. And a couple of kind of questions that, it's just good to get a feel of things. For you, what's the best piece of advice you've received, and also the best piece of advice that you would give?
The best piece of advice I've received is probably by my coach. It's just enjoy it. Like there's no point in doing sport if you don't enjoy it. Um, and I think you need to remember the root reason why you've started in the first place, because I think it's really easy to forget and get caught up in what other people are doing. And yeah, just like not comparing yourself to other people as well is really important. But yeah, um, enjoying it. And then a piece of advice I'd give to someone else is um, don't overthink anything. Don't take it too seriously. Running is a small bit of your life at the end of the day, and you are more than a runner. I think it's really easy for a lot of us to make it our identity, but yeah, there's a lot more to us than just running.
Absolutely, very well said. Comparison is the thief of joy, and for
Yeah.
sure, there's so much more to a person than their running or their running identity. And it definitely is a difficult kind of scenario to navigate sometimes, and people do find themselves getting all caught up and wrapped up in it. But it sounds like that's something that you've steered clear of, or perhaps found a way through, maybe through circumstances that have happened.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, last year I was out for quite a long time with a pretty bad injury. But before the injury actually happened, I I think I sort of forgot why I'd started running in the first place because I actually wasn't really enjoying it. Um, and then the injury happened. But yeah, I got I made running. It was like my life in a way. I thought it was the only interesting thing about me. But then once the injury happened and it's taken away from you, you have to remember why you started in the first place and yeah, sort of realize that there's more to yourself than just the sport you do.
Yeah,
So yeah.
100%. Definitely, it's a sink or swim situation, and sometimes being chucked in the deep end is the best or maybe the only way to come to these realizations. And before we kind of maybe explore a bit more around that, because like you say, that definitely is something that's such a common experience to so many people who run across a range of levels. For
Yeah.
you, what are three non-negotiables?
Bring on a go just running wise.
Running wise, yeah.
Yeah, so I think be understanding to yourself. Um, So if you do a session and you're not running particularly well, I think it's really easy to just throw the towel in, but you need to be kind to yourself and think you can't be on your A game all the time. You'd much rather just have consistent mediocre sessions, really. And then the second one would be just turn up every day, like even if you don't feel like it. There's been so many days where I don't feel like doing anything. I'm just too tired, but you feel so much better after doing it. And then if you stack it up over a long period of time, it does pay off. Um, and then three is uh, sleep, sleep and rest, definitely. Because there's no point smashing yourself if you're not recovering. And yeah, sleep's a part of training.
Absolutely. I love that phrase. I
Mm.
think it's something that's not said enough and increasingly coming to the forefront as something that is so important and so valuable. And I want to pick up firstly on something you say there when you talk about, even when you don't feel like it, it's showing up, it's consistently putting away, chipping away at that goal over a long period of time. But you also mentioned about the importance of enjoying it and keeping it something that's, in some respects fun. How do you balance then the kind of line between consistently showing up, knowing when to, okay, yeah, I'm tired, but I'm going to go out and train, versus keeping
Yeah,
it something that you enjoy and look forward to, because it is a very challenging thing to do.
that's a really good point. So I think if, say, for example, if I've been set a specific session to do, but I'm feeling really tired, I'd much rather just end up you're gonna get a benefit even if you just go a bit easier. Just saying to yourself, just run, just put one foot in front of the other, give yourself 10 minutes, and then you end up loving it, and you feel so much better about yourself in the end. Um, and then it's like that intrinsic motivation you have within yourself. It's like I'm not. I think a lot of us they you don't do it for other people. It's for yourself. Um, and just thinking to yourself, I do this because I love it at the end of the day. So I'm just going to go, even if you go for 10 minutes, and if you really still feel bad, then yeah, go back home. And if you're feeling, there's other things like if you're generally feeling ill and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I always have a rule, I give it 10 minutes and then you end up loving it.
Love that. And
Yeah.
have there ever been any times where after that 10 minutes you have aborted mission, or is it pretty much always things kind of loosen up?
I think 9 out of 10, well, 99% of the time, I won't abort it because I end up being absolutely fine. But yeah, if I'm coming down with something or just haven't slept or something, then yeah, there's no point flogging yourself. It's like flogging a dead horse at the end of the day. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
dead
just go back
horses
home and
aren't the
sleep.
one.
No.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's great. And it sounds like you've got a really good approach and kind of mindset and ability to rationalize and listen to your body and know when to push and when not. And I guess as well, the other thing is, it sounds like by having that, say, 10-minute rule, it's kind of a shift in mindset and taking the pressure off yourself. Would you say that
Yeah.
you're then still able to maybe push quite hard in the session, or ultimately you end up doing it, but it feels easier because you haven't put those expectations on yourself?
Yeah, so like it's I'm so for me, I'm renowned for training pretty easy. I don't I I've always got like 6 out of 10 sessions. I can probably count on one hand um the amount of like stellar sessions I've had. So I think yeah, just take like completely taking the pressure off yourself and thinking even if I'm not hitting the pace I want to do, I'm at least out here running. I'm not, inside doing nothing. You feel much better about yourself. But yeah, I think just and if you are feeling really bad, I don't tend to look at my watch either. I just think, especially if I'm on my own, I just think, yeah, do what you can today, just finish it, and then yeah, there's always another day.
Definitely, there always is
Yeah.
another day. And for sure, it's something that's working because you're smashing it out on the racing scene. And I think so many people keep talking about taking it easier and holding back a
Mm.
bit in training. And have you noticed, or was it perhaps in the past that you trained harder and it's something in more recent years that you've come to kind of drop the intensity, or has that always been your approach?
Yeah, so I'm really lucky with uh, like my coach, his his training philosophy is. So he's always like keeping up to date on all the new sort of training styles. But he's always like right from day one drilled it into me that you don't you don't need to be smashing it. You'd much rather just have really average sessions, and then it only matters when you race. Like there's no point in training really well and beating everyone and running miles ahead of everyone if you're not going to race up to your potential. Um, and yeah, and I think when you're in like a big group, say at uni, for example, I think it's really easy to get swept up and sort of end up racing each other a bit, or you end up in a tempo session and it's not really a tempo, or you go out on a big group steady run and people stop talking and they start racing it a bit. It's easily done. Um, but yeah, I've been really lucky that my coach, like my home coach, has always said, just run at your own pace if you need to, because it's the race that counts at the end of the day. Yeah.
Definitely. It really is that
Mm.
race that counts. And before we move on to some of your learnings and, that big injury you talk about having, and also kind of your recent success and everything, let's peel it back and start at the very start. You're someone who's only been running for about 5 years, pretty
Mm.
much. I know you were kind of picked up in the swimming pool. So do you want to walk us through how everything running wise came about for you?
Yeah, so it was a pretty like standard beginning I think a lot of people go through. I think I was in year 8 at school. I've never been very good at team sports or anything. I was like crap at hockey and netball. I was never in the A team or anything like that. But I did my first school cross country when I was in year 8, and I think I came first girl and was like running with all the boys. And yeah, I'd never really run before that. Like I swam, I really enjoyed swimming actually, but I didn't really run much. And then my PE teacher was sort of scouted me out and was like, "Oh, you should join an athletics club or something." I didn't join a club for a few years, because I think my parents just didn't want to give me a lift after school to the club or anything like that. But then after a while, I sort of persuaded them. I said, "I think I might enjoy it. Can I just try running?" And I'd started doing Tuesday, Thursday sessions with a group when I was in, I think I was 15 at that point. So yeah, I was only doing like county schools races and um, like league races on a weekend. And I was never like at the front or anything, but I just really enjoyed the social aspect of it. And I found a sport that like I was good at, because I was good at swimming, but I'm not really built for it. If anyone knows me, I'm like 5'2". Um, I don't have massive shoulders or anything, so I wasn't really built to swim very fast. And then, yeah, team sports I was never great at, but I could always run around for ages. So yeah, I sort of found my niche with running and yeah, continued from there.
Yeah, absolutely you did. And for sure, I think it often does take a lot from parents at a younger age, kind of requires that
Yeah,
extra input. And yeah, I mean, I feel like sometimes size definitely is an advantage in swimming. At the end of the day, it's probably a
definitely.
lot more, I don't know, arms in the pool if you're smaller. And then I guess for you, pretty quickly you made it to kind of nationals, but like you say, placing sort of more towards the back, but you progressed very, very
Mm.
quickly once you kind of did start going to an athletics club. Do you want to walk us through kind of what that journey was like?
Yeah, so I think it kicked off really around lockdown because I did my first ever English schools where I came like 200 and something cross
165th,
country.
actually.
Was it
Yep,
165th? Oh,
not
that's
bad for
better
a
than I
first
thought.
outing. Yep.
Yeah. I think I was into girls at that point because I must have been it was GCSE year. Um and yeah, I made the English schools team. I think they took top eight, and I was like sixth or seventh, or something like that for Berkshire. And
Third,
yeah,
actually.
when was I third?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm underestimating myself. Yeah, that was literally the week before COVID because it was at
Yeah.
Liverpool. I don't know if anyone
I
remembers
raced
that
there
one.
also. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was my first ever English schools and I loved it. Like I'd never been and stayed away with a team overnight and the team aspect was just so fun. And I remember seeing all the people like coming in the top eight winning the SIAB vest and that they could run for England. And I remember thinking, oh my God, that would be amazing to do that one day. And then yeah, the week after it was lockdown. Um, and all the pools shut and then so I couldn't swim and then I sort of thought oh I'll just start running every day and I don't know how I didn't get injured because I ended up running like every single day all of a sudden but I loved it got me through lockdown GCSEs were cancelled so I had nothing to do and then I think I had this goal of like I'd never run a sub 25k at that point so I was like, oh, by the end of lockdown, I want to run under 20 minutes for 5K. But yeah, I just took up running a bit more around lockdown.
No, that's really great to hear. And yeah, it's funny kind of what opportunities something that on the face of it is such a
Mm,
sort of disaster can throw up. And absolutely you did that. You came back with a 18:02 on the track as well. So
yeah.
definitely got that goal there. And yeah, you're also sort of placing, top five in nationals 2021. Did that make you rethink running or change your attitude and approach in any way?
Yeah, definitely. So just before I ran those times, so that year, in the winter lockdown, which was I think the second or third lockdown we had, um, I changed running groups because I was in one with like it was like the younger girls and then I was making quite good progress because of just running every day in lockdown. And then I thought to myself, I actually really enjoy running. And because before lockdown I'd seen you could like run for England and there was those Sire vests and stuff like that. I thought, oh, that's really cool. I'd love to like run for England one day. And then I got in contact with Mark, who's my current coach now. And yeah, thankfully he took me on in they had like a small group and I was the youngest at the time in the group but there was a lot of like really quick 1500 girls and I was miles off at the time and but yeah I loved it they were like really it was like an elite little group in Reading that I had no idea about before I reached out and yeah joined his group and then quickly made a lot of progress started training properly doing sessions and yeah just learning about running overall and then I remember I sat down with him and I said, like I was a bit embarrassed at the time, so I felt so far off it, but I was like, I really want to run for England one day. And then, yeah, I just from then on just took running a lot more seriously, made it like my main sport. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it can be kind of scary sometimes to say out loud the goals that we have in our head, but at the end of the day, there's absolutely nothing wrong with aiming for the best. Everyone can aim
Yeah,
for the very top because what have you got to lose? And yeah, I mean
exactly.
that came true the following year in Italy for you.
Yeah.
And before we kind of carry on with that, I'm just curious around kind of the swimming. What
Mm.
initially got you sort of doing that, and where was kind of the love for that from?
I think as a young kid I always swam. I did tennis a little bit as well. Um but yeah, I never did team sports, but just I think I used to do like swimming lessons every week. Um and I've always found it like really nice and relaxing and cathartic. Um so yeah, I always like to keep it in my week. And then yeah, it was like disappointing in lockdown when all the pools shut because I didn't feel like anything could replace how you feel when you swim because I just feel like it relaxes you and everything. But yeah, I just loved it. I didn't swim for a club or anything. I just went on my own. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that can be really nice. It's good
Mm.
sometimes to just do stuff for you. And would you say that now running kind of lives up to that same enjoyment or relaxation factor of swimming, or have you still got a special spot for the good old giant bathtub?
Yeah, I do have a special spot for swimming, but uh yeah, with running, like I what I love about it is that it's just simple. Like you only need a pair of shoes. You don't have to drive anywhere. You can just leave out your door, and I really like how simple it is at the end of the day. Um and yeah, you I never listen to music personally when I run. Um so it just
Wow.
yeah, it clears my head really well. It's very similar to swimming because you can't listen to music when you swim either, but yeah, you sort of just get in your own head and you feel how you have a bit more clarity afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. I
Mm.
think that's something that draws a lot of people to the sport. And yeah, I know there's kind of a constant debate around sort of music, no music, but yeah, I mean, personally, I don't think I could do the no music
Mm.
life after I switched to music. But
Yeah.
are there any times where you listen to music, or for you, is it always just kind of a peaceful place with just your mind and you, really?
To be honest, I do raw dog it a lot with no music. I think if I actually run on the treadmill, I think I do need
Oh
music
yeah.
because yeah, that's really because yeah, if I do a treadmill session, I'll need some sort of music to get me through it. Otherwise, it's just too loud listening to yourself run.
Definitely,
But yeah,
even just the thudding of the feet. And you say
yeah.
treadmill session there. Is that something that happens regularly? Because that sounds like, a bit of a horrendous one, really.
I really enjoy treadmill sessions actually because especially if like you train on your own, you sort of set the pace and you can just absolutely switch off. Um, But I was doing it more when I was on placement and getting back late, and especially in winter. I do it a lot in winter because it's just dark and there's not many places to run. And in at St Mary's where I am now, a lot of the parks aren't lit up, so you've only got the track as an option to run. So um, yeah, I just use the treadmill sometimes if it's dark and late, and you're feeling tired. You just want to set the pace and go.
Yeah, actually, that
Mm.
does sound, you're kind of persuading me back around now, actually. But
Yeah.
no, it's great that you are opting for the treadmill. And yeah, for anyone who is in a position like that, if it's late, if it's dark, if there's any sort of question of it being safe or not, if you have got the option,
Mm.
definitely treadmill it the whole way. Do you find that that alters your running style or anything like that? Because some people do talk about, the treadmill potentially being less conducive for performance. I mean, clearly not the case in your case, but
Um, I don't know. I've got quite. If anyone's who's seen me run, I've got quite a high cadence. So I probably am really loud on the treadmill with the amount of times I'm like stepping. But I don't think it alters how I run too much. If anything, I think it helps with my turnover a bit because I can force myself into a pace, which is quite nice sometimes. But no, I quite enjoy it, and it's a bit more bouncy. I prefer it to running on the road all the time. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I don't think it changes how I run too much, to be honest.
No, that's great to hear. And I guess then, moving on, 2022, you ran for England for the first time out in Italy.
Yeah.
had a great season, and that was also the pre-season to you going off to uni. So do you want to talk us through what getting that England vest meant to you?
That it was like I was so made up. It was like my goal had come true. Obviously, I really wanted to run for GB as well at some point, but yeah, I never thought I'd actually get an England vest to begin with. And then I remember looking because you have to put an expression of interest form into the England Athletics, and I saw that one in Italy, and I'd never like travelled for a race before. So yeah, I put my name forward, but I really wasn't expecting to actually make the team because I thought there's so many other people they could pick. But yeah, I got the call up, and I was so excited. I remember getting the kit and get when you order it online, and I was just absolutely made up. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so great to hear. And yeah, it definitely is such an exciting moment when you kind of
Mm.
receive that email or that call. And that's great that, after wanting it, it came true for you. And did that alter your approach then moving forwards in terms of maybe mindset or training?
I think it made me realize like, yeah, this is serious with the running, and I want to it's something I want to carry on doing. I just want to see how good I can be. And I want to do it for as long as I can. And yeah, try and run for GB at some point. Um, so yeah, I definitely, but I don't think it changed how I trained. If anything, it reinforced that the training I was doing was working well for me. And then that gave me confidence to just carry on doing what I was doing. And then eventually I'd hopefully just get faster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's really good to hear. And I guess then following on from that, you made the decision to head out to St. Mary's. Was that running related, or kind of what was the thought process behind that?
So my first choice for uni was actually Birmingham, but unfortunately I'm not the most academically gifted person, so I didn't quite get the A level grades I needed for Birmingham. But St Mary's actually I did an interview for St Mary's for the physio degree, and I put that down as my insurance, and I was really lucky on results day. I rang them up and they agreed to take me. So I was so happy, and it actually worked out for the best because St Mary's isn't too far from my home, and I go home quite a lot, which is quite nice. So yeah, I went to St Mary's, um, and yeah, started the physio degree, and I actually ran in the England race in Italy with Pippa, who was going to St Mary's as well. So it's really nice to meet someone who I was going to be in halls with for the next year. Um, but yeah, that's how St Mary's came about. So yeah.
Yeah, no, amazing. And yeah, it's always good to kind of have people, and racing can definitely open up doors in terms of meeting others within the sport. And then I guess then for that first year at uni, by the sounds of it, you're still with your first coach or your coach you had before going to uni. Is that right? Did you join the uni group? What kind of happened there?
Yeah, so at first it was it's tricky because we'd never like done remote coaching before because I'd always been at home and had like seen my coach 2, 3 times a week for sessions. But we sort of said, oh, let's try out the uni group and see how it goes. So yeah, I joined in with mixed group to start off with. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like it was hard though, because you had like third years who were a lot faster and older, and then you had people who still live in the Teddington area running as well. So yeah, I'd never run in like a huge group like that before, but then I still had Mark sort of um still being in contact with me, and then but yeah, we thought we might, if we're at uni, might as well buy into the uni program to see how it goes for the first year. And I think like most first years you get like ill quite a lot. I've actually never been out still to this day. But I never went out in freshers, but I still got like tonsillitis quite a few times in my first year because I think after COVID everyone was a bit didn't quite have the immune system, so it was
Yeah.
quite easy to get ill. So yeah, I was getting ill quite a lot, so didn't race great. And then in the summer, I think my coach and I back home were like, let's just go back to what we were doing before. And we found that what I was doing back at home just worked for my body the best. Because yeah, I found it quite hard being in a huge group. It's just easy to compare yourself and get swept up, and you end up running too quick, which just personally didn't work for me. So yeah, I went back to what I was doing and just trained by myself, session wise at uni. But yeah, I sometimes jump in with the uni group, which was really nice.
Yeah, definitely. I think, it's always good to understand yourself and have that
Yeah.
confidence in terms of knowing, what works for your body. And sometimes you do have to kind of be like, do you know what? Yeah, this doesn't work for my body, and do what does. So it's great that you took that step. And I guess also, this injury that you had that kind of came around end of 2023 and
Mm.
seemed to last quite a while. So do you want to talk us through what happened there and yeah, kind of how that impacted you?
Yeah, so that was in my second year of uni, and then I was not in university halls anymore. I was living in a flat with a few other runners, and then I joined the group that they were in, which was the other uni group. Because I thought, oh, I'm living with the same people, I might as well just go to the sessions with everyone. But I was probably like the slowest in the group because there was a lot of really high level girls and really fast boys, and then yeah, for me, the tempos weren't quite tempo. The steady runs were really quick. Um, and and I think week after week it catches up on you. You can do it for a little while, and then, um, yeah, like for me personally, it works for some other people, but training too hard just, um, yeah, I think wore down on me a bit. And before my injury, I used to run quite high mileage, so I'd double most days. Which is fine if the intensity is not too high. But because every run was just that bit too quick for my body, um, I think it just, yeah, I was at high risk of injury. And then, yeah, in the winter of 2023, around Christmas time, I was getting a bit of like plantar pain, and I thought nothing of it because I'd wake up and like I'd have that typical hobbling around, and then I'd go for a run and it'd be gone. And I've been really lucky with injuries before. I've never really had an injury. I've been quite durable, and like if I've had a niggle, I've been able to run through it and it'd be fine. Um, so yeah, I carried on running through this plantar pain over the Christmas period, and then over Christmas, you're you end up running a bit more. I think what I did because everyone's, I don't know, on social media saying, "Oh, I'm running this far at Christmas time and stuff," and you get caught up in it. And yeah, I probably just overdid it around that time. And then I came back from home in the January, and I was doing a track session with a couple of my friends in the first week of January, and my foot was just getting worse in the session, but I carried on because I was being stupid, and then I just felt a pop in my foot and thought, oh my God, and I had to like limp off. I couldn't even jog home. I just limped home. But yeah, I knew I'd done something really bad at that point. So yeah, that was the lead up to that injury last year.
Gosh, yeah. When you hear a pop or a snap
Mm.
or a crack, it's never good. But I think an experience that so many people will be able to relate to because it is such a fine line between kind of pushing yourself and pushing through things versus knowing when to stop. And it almost takes that kind of personal, unfortunate experience to
Mm.
know where that line is. And before we kind of move on to the injury then itself, it sounds like maybe in the past, comparison, maybe social media had quite a big impact on you. Would you say that as a person, what others were doing, what you were seeing around you, did influence you a lot? Or,
Yeah, definitely at that time I got really caught up like comparing myself to what everyone else was doing, and there's so many, at the end of the day, there's so many different ways to train, and different things work for different people. And you're seeing like all these different things people are doing, and then people that are in your group that are quicker than you, you're like, oh, I just want to be running with them because they're so much quicker. Um, so yeah, I got really caught up in it, and actually when the plantar pain started and before the injury, I actually just really wasn't enjoying running. I think I did one road race that winter and I didn't finish, which is really unlike me. I hate DNFing. Um, and I just wasn't enjoying it. I feel like my head wasn't in it and I'd forgotten the reason why I'd started. So in hindsight, the injury probably was a good thing. Um, however horrible it was. But yeah, I definitely struggled with comparison at the time. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, it's something that is so common and so easily done. I mean, the
Mm.
sport is basically a massive game of comparison. And especially
Yeah.
when you see people who are kind of where you want to be, it's easy to look at the things they're doing and pinpoint, oh, maybe if I do that, I'll be running like them, when actually
Yeah.
there are just so many factors in and around it. So I just want to dive a little bit deeper into kind of the comparison element of things, because it is something that affects so many people. What do
Yeah.
you think kind of drives that initial feeling of perhaps that you're not doing enough, or that other people maybe know more than you, when, at that point in time, you were a very good runner, you had run for
Mm.
England. What do you think it was for you?
I think for me, I think I felt like I was always at the back of the like every session I was running. Um, like speed's never been my strong point, but I just felt like I was always getting dropped, and then I hate being dropped, so I was like just cling on um to anyone who's running, and you end up just really hating it because you're never feeling comfortable or like you're running within yourself, which is it's a crap way to feel. And because I think another element of it was because I hadn't raced in ages as well. I think at the end of the day, we do all this training to race, and I
Mm.
felt like I was just sort of training aimlessly. I didn't really know what my goal was. I knew that I wanted to, get another England vest or something, or a GB vest at some point in the future. But yeah, and then I think a mixture of Strava and Instagram, it's so easy to think, oh, I should be doing more. And yeah, I think back then my mindset was very much, oh, I need to be doing more, more, more. Um, and yeah, at that point, like I wasn't being coached by my coach back home at that point. But I'd sort of forgotten like what he drilled into me, that sometimes less is more. Um, but yeah, I was doing the opposite. I thought the more I ran and the more I tried to keep up with people, then I'd get better. But no, it just made me really tired, and yeah, then the injury happened. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a common trap to fall into. And
Yeah.
on the face of it, that's kind of what logically makes sense. Do more, run more, you'll get better. But,
Mm.
it's a bit of a weird business, I think, running is. It just, certain things work for certain people, and often less is more. And I think you make a great point when you talk about kind of that feeling of maybe insecurity within a training group, and how that can lead to you kind of not running within yourself and losing that enjoyment there. And would you say that then that kind of led to an overall mindset shift towards kind of wanting to keep up and keep pushing, and that led to you and losing that enjoyment and kind of sight of why you initially ran?
Yeah, so I was still loving like the social element of being in a group. Like, I'd love having a chat with everyone and stuff like that. So I was really enjoying the social bit. But then, yeah, I feel like I was taking the actual session too seriously because I think I felt worried because I knew that I was probably going to get dropped, or not be as like fast as the next girl, or not be able to keep up. And yeah, and I'm not, I'm competitive, but only when it counts. So when I'm training, um, I don't have that same level of competitiveness. So I really struggle to, I think you end up getting quite burnt out if you're always thinking in that race mindset and turning up to a session thinking, oh God, I've got to like keep up. Otherwise I'm going to get dropped in the middle of the park and I don't want to be running on my own. Um, but yeah, like looking back, I think I was going off way too hard in every session and then blowing up pretty much every time. And it doesn't give you much confidence. And yeah, like I say, you just become really tired as well, especially if you're if you're wanting to do doubles like I was doing, I was going out for a double run as well. And yeah, I just didn't enjoy it. I just thought I I don't feel like I'm ever gonna like get to a high level because I'm always getting dropped and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really challenging and really
Mm.
difficult, when you're in an environment like that, especially, which I think can be common at some of the, maybe stronger clubs or stronger running unis when you do get surrounded by people like that. And it definitely can be really overwhelming. And I guess then for you, it sounds like the injury, which, seemed to be about a year, correct me if I'm wrong, that you managed to refine that enjoyment and maybe refine your identity. Can you walk us through the emotional experience of having that injury?
Yeah, so the injury happened in like the first week of January last year, and I don't know if anyone else is like me, but at first you think, oh, it'll be okay in a week. I'll be back running in a week. I'll give it a few days, it'll be fine. But I was in agony. I'd never like felt pain like that in my, it felt like I'd been stabbed in the heel, basically. Because I couldn't get a scan or anything. And I was about to go on my first physio placement. And I was just so busy. I just didn't have the time or resources to go and
Mm.
get a scan or like properly see a physio regularly or anything. So I sort of just got on with it. I couldn't even walk properly. So I stopped running. I didn't even try to run or anything. Um, and then I was doing aqua jogging and going on the bike because I couldn't really like weight bear through my foot. Because I found out what I'd done was I'd ruptured my plantar, which I didn't find out I had done until the April because I couldn't get a
Oh,
scan until April. So it really dragged on, and um like the physio placement, you're on your feet all day, so that probably didn't help with the recovery side of it. But yeah, it was like a constant pain in my foot though, and it really wore down on me. Um so yeah, I think I sort of I didn't I don't want to say I gave up on myself, but I really put running on the back burner. I thought I just want to get through my degree and my placements. I don't and I don't want to run until I'm like not in pain anymore. And then I got the MRI scan in the April, and yeah, the results came back that it was still like the injury was still at a really acute phase, which is January to April. That's a really long time, and it obviously hadn't got better. So yeah, I had to wear like an air cast boot for a month. Um, and then I saw this foot doctor, and she was like, um, with a plantar rupture, because there's like lack of blood flow to the
mm.
plantar and stuff like that. She said these things can take up to 2 years to heal. And so I'd accepted at that point that, oh, maybe I won't be able to run for another year or two. So I think I went from having these goals of running for England again and getting a GB vest and getting PBs to suddenly I gave up on that overnight. I thought, oh, I'm just gonna stop because I'm still in pain. I don't know. I know that the pain will eventually go away one day, but it could this injury could last another year or something. So yeah, I didn't try any running. I was going on the bike and aqua jogging occasionally, but I sort of felt like there was no point because I thought I'm probably not going to come back to running. Like I genuinely thought I wouldn't come back to it at all. And then yeah, that dragged on for quite a while. I got through all my placements, and then in the summer I went back home and lived with my mum and dad for the summer. And um yeah, I think the other thing that was really hard was that a lot of my friends were runners, and I was living with runners as well. And then you're seeing them go out to their sessions and stuff like that. And then because you're not seeing the group, you're not seeing your friends regularly. And I really isolated myself, sadly. Like I lost contact with quite a few friends, um, which I really regret, but I think I was doing it to sort of protect myself because I found it really hard to see other people run when I couldn't. And then I didn't want to be that one person that was like draining all the energy out of people because I was being negative. So I thought it's probably just best if I keep myself to myself, um, and like stay alone. It sounds really sad looking back,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I ended up going back home to my mum and dad for the whole summer, feeling sorry for myself and moping around. And my coach from home, he was like pestering me to just come down to the track just to see people because he knew how much running meant to me and how like my friends from my home group meant to me. Um, but I was really apprehensive because I I think I avoided it to protect how I was feeling because I knew I'd find it hard to see other people run when I couldn't. And I was also scared to come back running because the pain didn't go away until like July time. So yeah, like being in that chronic pain for such a long time really wore down on me. And I think I just wasn't a happy bunny last summer. Um, but yeah, my coach, he kept messaging me, being like, just come back, like people want to see you. You're part of the team. Even if you're not running, just it'll be nice to see people. And then I think I eventually did. And I got down to the track and my coach was like, just try running for 10 seconds on the track because the pain had gone. But yeah, I was in a bit of a state. I wasn't very kind to myself last year with the injury. I didn't look after myself very well. Um, and yeah, I sort of lost my mojo a bit, but I came down to the track, saw my coach and saw friends I hadn't seen in ages, and then I couldn't even run for 10 seconds. Like, but I had no pain, which was really positive. Um, but after just being down and seeing everyone at the track, I felt so much better.
Mm.
Um, and even my mum and dad were like, Mia, you need to get back running. Like, it's what you love at the end of the day. And my parents aren't keen runners. Like they, as long as I'm happy and healthy, that's all that matters to them. But they were saying, just go down to the track. Like we'll take you down there. Just you need to see your friends and socialize. You need to get out the house. So yeah, I did that and I felt so much better. So yeah, once a week after that time, I just went and built back up from there. But yeah, during the injury, it was like last year was horrible. Yeah, it was really bad. And then you look at the bigger picture and think, well, like I'm still fine. But yeah, I think being in pain for so long and feeling sad, it just wears down on you after a while. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that really does sound like quite a roller coaster. And, on top of everything, injuries are so, so difficult to deal with. And
Mm.
I think, mentally, they really can be a dark space. But it sounds like you had all the factors for a perfect storm there. I mean,
Mm.
being in chronic pain for such a long period of time really does sound horrific. And, you know, I think there's a lot of research, a lot of stats around kind of chronic and long-term health conditions and the extreme magnitude of impact they have on kind of mental health because it really does wear down on you. And I mean, you talk about only getting that scan in July time. That's what, like 4 months with that uncertainty and that
Yeah.
pain. And, that is a lot to deal with, especially living with runners, having running as part of your life, struggling to kind of navigate that. I think that's something that a lot of people find difficult. And that feeling of wanting to take yourself away from others to not be a burden. Anyone feeling in that way, definitely the right answer is always talk to the people around you.
Mm.
People who are close to you love you, they want to be there for you, they want to support you. But for sure, that does sound like a very dark place. Kind of reflecting back on that experience, then, is there anything that you wish you'd kind of known during that time, or anything you'd sort of advise your past self to have done?
Yeah, so during the time, I think I knew everything I was doing was the absolute wrong thing to do, but I think it was, I don't know if it was sort of like a way of self-sabotage because I blamed myself for running through that injury in the first place and then ending up in the state I was. And then I felt like I was so far off like being an athlete again. I thought I'd never be able to get back to that. And then it's it's difficult having those running goals and then overnight not having that. And
Mm.
then I just felt like a bit lost. I felt like I didn't have a specific goal anymore. Like obviously I had my degree in the placements, but yeah, like when you have running, that's something you really enjoy, and then you're suddenly saying to yourself, "Oh, I'm giving up on it. I just don't think I can ever get back to it. It was really hard." And then
Yeah.
yeah, I really regret like cutting myself off, I think. Um, because yeah, I sort of really got in my own head, and then yeah, I just wasn't kind to myself at the time at all. Um, which like if you saw someone else doing that, I think my close friends definitely saw a difference because a lot of people know me. I'm usually quite bubbly and like to make jokes and stuff like that. But I completely changed personality. Yeah, I just looked sad all the time. And I know at the end of the day, looking back, it feels really silly because it's only running. Um, which I've learnt now. Like you can yeah be running one day and then it can be taken away from you, so you need other things in your life and you need to realize that you can't base your self-worth or self-confidence on the sport because it comes and goes. Like you need to find other things and build that support around you for when that does happen and things get hard. um but yeah, I wish I hadn't isolated myself as much, and I just wish I looked after myself a bit more at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, these things can be so challenging to deal with. And you say it's only running, and that very much is true. But at the
Yeah.
same time, to someone, in your position back then, and so many people who run it, it's more than that. It's a hobby, it's a source of enjoyment, it's headspace, it's
Yeah.
connection, it's to some extent it can be, confidence boosting. And I think there's something
Yeah.
so kind of I don't know, strong about having something suddenly taken away from you. It's kind of like coming out of a relationship, or in some respects, almost, kind of dealing
Yeah.
with death in some ways. It's that sudden, unexpected loss of something which is so familiar and kind. And you talk about, not being so kind to yourself, being kind of down and sad all the time. Are there any things that you wish you'd done differently, or that you would do differently if you were to get injured again to kind of avoid them?
I think um like I know it's hard like watching your friends run and stuff, but still going down to the group to just be there if you can, and like be around people that you'd usually train with just so you can socialize a bit. Because I think yeah, just not seeing friends and sort of like people were wanting to meet up and stuff, and I was always like no. I'd always come up with an excuse. I think it was because I was just avoiding because I didn't want people to see me sad or not myself. Um, and yeah, I think when you're like a bit down, you just don't sleep very well, you don't eat very well, and you sort of let go of looking after your body as well, um, which I wish I hadn't done because you need to look after yourself to get back stronger if you want to come back running again. But yeah, I think it was because I'd accepted that I was probably never going to come back running. I just let go of it and became really complacent and yeah, I thought um well, if I'm not gonna come back to it, what's the point in cross training or getting stronger or rehabbing like my foot if yeah, I'm not gonna come back. And then I think also like having such a long period of time not knowing what the injury actually was, it was just like really uncertain. And but like personally for me, I like planning ahead of time, and I like knowing what's coming next. So it was horrible being in a position of not knowing what was going on in your own body and having that like nagging pain in the back of your head all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And yeah, uncertainty really can be the icing on the cake in these kind of situations. And yeah, for sure, in difficult times, sometimes certain coping mechanisms are turned to, and that's not necessarily always ideal, but sometimes it is just about surviving. And it sounds like, well, the evidence speaks for itself. You've done very well to bring yourself kind of out of that place, and it sounds like you also took away some important learnings. So I
Mm.
guess from that point of view, if we flip it to maybe the more positive side of this, very much not so positive situation,
Mm.
how did you find or maybe explore other identities outside of running and then ultimately build yourself back up to the place you are now?
So I actually think it really helped being on my full-time physio placement at the time, and then I actually found it more hard in the summer because there was no uni or placement, um, and I was just at home uh, with my mum and dad, not really running. But then I think like I'm so lucky to have my coach from home, and he had faith in me when I had no faith in coming back to running, and he just wanted me, like for him, I think my happiness and my mum and dad as well, my happiness is more important than running well or anything like that. So I think just prioritizing being happy and healthy to start off with really helped. And then yeah, like actually seeing going down and making the effort to see my friends in my group, and then um yeah, in the summer just really slowly coming back to it. I think my first like run back, it felt horrible, but I think I was running for like 10 or 20 seconds at a time. Um, but yeah, and I took all pressure off myself at that point, which was actually quite nice. And my coach and I, we were like, we could just start from square one again. Like we don't have to go back racing. We just want to come back and be able to run again without being in pain. Um, so yeah, that was a really nice mindset shift because I found I rediscovered my root reason why I started running in the first place, and that was the social bit of it. It was because it gave me confidence, and yeah, it just made me feel really good about myself. And then, yeah, we just really gradually built up from there.
Yeah, no, that's great to
Mm.
hear. It's fantastic that you had that home coach who kind of cared about you as a person as well as an athlete
Yeah,
and was able to help you refine that happy place, that love, that enjoyment. And I mean, you talk about bringing it back to square one and taking it easy, but come the 23rd of November, 2024, gee, I'll screw that. But you then I remember I mean I was in the race, but Cardiff Cross Challenge, I think was your first race back after
yeah,
a long period of time. And what I do remember is you just coming absolutely flying past, I don't know, maybe a kilometer or two to go. And you just carried on like a bullet and finished right up there at the top. And then obviously following on from that, you went to have your phenomenal performance out in Liverpool, finishing third, and then ultimately taking a step further to finish sixth of the European Cross Country Championships. I mean, from the way you ran Cardiff, I would almost guess that maybe you weren't expecting to be in the shape you're in, but I don't know, fill us in kind of what
mm.
happened during that period and what this season's kind of ended up for you.
Yeah, so um yeah, like after summer I came back to uni and was jumping in with mixed group, which was really nice to just be in a group, and I was probably doing like one session a week, and then I came back home because I actually had a placement for 6 weeks near my mum and dad's house. So I was back with my home coach doing just literally one session a week, and then um one other run in the week, and then doing a bit of cross training on the side. And then um, I was I had no pain, and then the sessions were going okay. Like I wasn't running amazing sessions, but um, yeah, I was like feeling fairly fit. But yeah, my coach and I were like, oh yeah, let's just enter Cardiff for a bit of fun. There's no pressure on it, and I think my main goal with Cardiff was just to go and like have a trip down for the day with my friends, and that was that was the reason why I went. But I had absolutely no expectation on myself. I think my goal was just to not come last in that race because I had no indication of what shape I was in because, like you said, I hadn't raced in so long, and I just wanted to enjoy racing and for what it was again. And then I think I went off fairly conservative, and I remember the race going off and like it actually felt really easy, which was really weird. And I thought, oh, I'll just send it round, see what I can do. And yeah, I was shocked at what the result was in Cardiff, because I felt really good at the end of the race as well. So I probably had a bit more left. And yeah, I think Mark, my coach, I think he knew that I was fit, but I think we really shocked ourselves. And then I had no intention of doing Liverpool because it's such a long way to go from where I live. Um, and I had no intention or thought of like making a team or anything. But then Mark was like, "Oh, just enter Liverpool if because my parents couldn't they don't really come and watch me race, which is fair. Like they just don't they they've got a bit more interest in it nowadays, but yeah, they weren't going to drive me to Liverpool because I still can't drive. So my coach was like, just enter Liverpool, I'll drive you up there and just see what you can do. And then in the back of my mind I was thinking, don't know why I'm doing it. I'm not going to make the team. And I think I entered Liverpool like on the 11th hour, just before the entry shut. And even at that point, I didn't think I'd end up doing it. And then, yeah, I really shocked myself at Liverpool. I wasn't expecting to make the team at all. But I think my coach secretly thought I would. So because he drove me all the way up there. But yeah, it was a shock, Cardiff and Liverpool.
Gosh. Yeah, no, that's really interesting to hear. I mean, I would have thought after Cardiff you'd have, quite a strong degree of kind of confidence in yourself there. And yeah, I mean, it's great that you have got his support. And I think it's
Mm.
lovely how you talk about you and him as kind of our and us. And, I think that really shows the kind of team orientated mindset and kind of relationship you guys have. Did that add any pressure onto you, kind of him driving you up, or were you able to sort of keep a level head? And then during Liverpool, was there a point at which you thought, actually, I'm going for this, I'm going for this vest and it's on the cards?
Not really. I think, well, there was an aspect of thinking, oh, I mean, he's driven me all the way up here with his son, who's a toddler as well. So yeah, we had the baby in the car as well. Um, and I was thinking, oh, he's driven me all the way up here. Like I better not do crap. But I think, but his advice has always been just race to enjoy it. Just have a smile on your face while you're running. Just do it because you love doing it. And I actually really enjoyed the race. Like the weather was horrible. I remember
Oh,
waking up in the morning and looking outside and thinking I really don't want to go and run in that. It was disgusting out. But
yeah.
yeah, by the time we got going, I really enjoyed it. And um before my injury, I used to go off really slow in races. Like I was, especially in cross country, I just get pushed to the back. But then ever since I've come back, I've sort of had this mindset sh mindset shift of like, if you're gonna race, just go for it, and if you blow up, you blow up. Like at the end of the day, no one cares. Just you might, if you're racing, you're doing it to push yourself to see how far you can go. And yeah, that was the mindset I had in Liverpool. I was like, just go off. Um, just go off hard and see what you could do, see if you can stick with the front, which I managed to. And then obviously the under 23s peeled off the seniors. And I actually fell down two or three times in Liverpool because it was
Really?
yeah, I absolutely hit the deck and I lost the group twice, which is really annoying.
Gosh.
So I was a bit like panicked, but then I thought, oh, I got back on the group eventually. Um, and yeah, and my coach said, so before the race he said, if you are in the position of um being in those GB spots, then just aim for a medal position at least, because like you're not, if you come top six, you're not always guaranteed to make the team. Um, so yeah, I was like, okay, I want a medal. I want to try and medal. And then yeah, I ended up coming third. And I loved it. It was so fun. And I think like the feeling of having nothing to lose as well after this injury has been really nice. And even now, I think um, just go off hard. Like if you blow up, it's fine. There's always going to be another race. That you not every race can be your best, but you might as well see what you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's so great to hear. And, it definitely is surprising that you kind of, I don't know, maybe doubted yourself a bit going into it, but it's great to hear that you enjoyed the experience and it was a good one. And, everything came out well in the end there. And before we kind of talk on Liverpool, I just want to ask whether because you've now performed quite well and put down a lot of times, you do feel like there's some level of expectation or pressure, or have you kind of managed to keep this mindset going?
My coach and I, like, we were actually talking about this before Bucks the other day. Um, but uh, we still say there's no pressure on it. Like, I don't have to prove myself to anyone. No one has to prove themselves to anyone. At the end of the day, I run for myself. I don't run for anyone else. Um, and I do it because I want to see how good I can be.
Mm.
Um, I'm I'm not running for anyone else's expectations. And yeah, I think it's a really nice mindset to be in. Like, yes, I have put down a few PBs and have like done a few good races that really surprised myself. Um, so if anything, that gives me confidence. But then I think, well, it's not always going to be your day, and that's fine as well. But I think after this injury, the most important thing for me is being able to run in the first place. Like, I'm happy as long as I'm able to do what I love, um, and yeah, not have an injury and not being in pain is just so nice. Um, so
Yeah.
that's been a really nice mindset shift, and I don't hang my enjoyment for running on the performance. Like, yes, if good results come along with it, then that's great. But if they don't, then that's fine. As long as I'm able to run, then that's all that matters to me.
Absolutely. That's so great to hear. And I think it's great as well that you have those conversations with your coach and you've got that mindset now. And yeah, sometimes, if you have a really low low, you end up with a really high high. And let's talk about the European Championships then, because, fifth is absolutely no joke. Going into that race, did you back yourself this time around? What was kind of your mindset going through and how did you feel afterwards?
Well, yeah, like making the team in the first place, it was literally like a dream come true. Like, I'd never I like when the kit came as well, it was just amazing. I felt like I was in a dream. It was so cool. And then yeah, going out with the team and like s- you're surrounded by all these elite people and everything. And then in the hotel, seeing like Ingebrigtsens and people like that, you think, oh my gosh. But I really enjoyed Euros. Again, I just wanted to enjoy the race, and then I wasn't a big fan of all the log jumps in the race because yeah, I don't have the longest legs. I find it really hard to jump over the barriers. But I went into that race. I didn't know how I would get on. I just didn't want to come last again. It was a bit like Cardiff situation because it was a whole new other field. Like, this was international, um, and then I somehow found myself at the front of the race. But
Yeah.
I think that was because I was so scared of tripping over the logs that I thought I just need clear ground to run on. And the pace ended up being really slow for the first lap, so I thought, oh, I might as well just take it on. And if I blow up, that's fine. I'll just take it on and see how well I can do. But yeah, I wasn't expecting to come sixth. But yeah, it was where at the points when I was leading it, I thought, oh my gosh, imagine if I could medal. And then yeah, I just couldn't quite deal with that pace change in that last lap. And I think all the log jumps and the sand it does zap it out your legs. But yeah, I came away from that race like I was really confident in myself. I thought, oh, that's great if I can come top 10 in my first Europeans. And yeah, like I said, I just really enjoyed the whole race as well.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear and absolutely makes sense. I mean, yeah, you don't want to get caught up in a log jump situation. And for sure,
Yeah.
yeah, I think this is where maybe if you're a, 6 foot kind of person, a log jump's probably not as much of a hurdle as if you're a bit shorter than that. So no,
Mm.
but it's great that you took away the confidence from that, and it was such a kind of dreamlike experience, especially after such a difficult lead up and time going into it. I guess following on from that, you broke 16 in the 5K, taking almost a minute off your kind of previous road PB. Obviously, you'd run a bit faster on track, and you've now laid down some great times, or a great time in the 3000, amazing performance in bucks. For you, what's the future looking like? What are your kind of goals moving forwards?
My goals are just to carry on and see how fast I can get. Like I just I want to I just want to push the limits of how fast I can get, and yeah, it'd be really nice to make another GB team, um and yeah, get another England vest and stuff like that. But yeah, I think for me it's just I want to push myself as much as I can and see how far I can get in the sport. Um, because yeah, I don't want to look too far ahead in the future, because anything like another injury can pop up again and completely skew your direction. But I think I'm just taking things in my stride at the moment. Um, and yeah, like mixing it up, like I'm doing a mixture of cross country, indoors. Like I'm hoping to do bucks indoors in a couple of weeks, and then yeah, hopefully in the summer do track, and then mixing it up with a bit of road racing, which is another new thing for me. Um, and yeah, like just enjoying trying out different things has been really nice, because it's been like a fresh start since I've come back. But yeah, I think at the moment just taking it in my stride, taking each race as it comes.
Yeah, no, that's a great approach to have. And absolutely, being in the moment and just going with it is, I think, such a beneficial thing to do. And I think a lot of people who perform well do kind of embody a mindset of a similar nature there. I guess then for you, kind of overall reflections, what do you think kind of are your standout characteristics then as an athlete, and some of the things that have enabled you to, aside from the natural talent, perform well?
I think not taking myself too seriously has been really important for me. 'Cause yeah, I think once you bring seriousness and worry into something you enjoy doing, you're not going to enjoy it. And yeah, like yeah, thinking life's too short to take yourself too seriously as well. Um, yeah, I think that's been really important to me, and just um, yeah, like having a good support network around you has been really important as well. Um, and doing it 'cause for the love of it, yeah, that's
Yeah.
been really important for me. Yeah.
No, that's great to hear that you've got those kind of things of areas of focus. And yeah, for sure, support systems are always so important, remembering while you're doing it. And I guess as well then, to kind of follow on from that point, you've kind of shot yourself to the top in a very short space of time. You're obviously clearly a very good runner, but do you think that the reason for kind of the sudden and rapid progression following on from this injury was maybe more related to mindset than anything you did from a physical point of view? Or,
I think I think definitely mindset's been huge, because now I go into a race and think just just go off hard and stick with it for as long as you can. If you blow up, that's fine. But yeah, I think having faith in your fitness as well. I think it's really easy to sort of overthink a race and think, oh, I'll go off a bit conservatively, and then um, but then you don't know how everyone else is doing on the start line. Everyone's on the start line is equal in my opinion, and I think you can only do your best at the end of the day. And then I think from a physical point of view, I've like the way I train is really different to how I trained before injury. So I actually only run 2 or 3 days a week at the moment, because like my coach and I've been really cautious coming back from this injury, but then we found actually doing a lot less running and then doing things like swimming has actually been really helpful for me, because my legs are a lot fresher, and also like my mind's fresh. Like I feel like when you're not running every day, you're excited for the next session, and you can get a bit more like quality and enjoyment out of yourself when you do a session. So I think that's been a really big switch for me. So yeah, switching up with the swimming and the running keeps it interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think there's an increasing kind of knowledge around, cross training and switching it up and maybe not having
Yeah.
to run as much. And yeah, I mean, very short on time now. So a final quick fire question to close things up with. What's one thing that you couldn't live without?
Oh my gosh. Running shoes.
Running shoes. Love
I'll keep
that.
it simple.
Yeah, simple answer, simple sport. No, love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Thanks for your time. Thanks for sharing your story. You know, you've been through a lot, but it's so inspiring and great to see that you've come out the other side. So thank you very much.
Oh, thanks so much for having me on. I hope my voice isn't too whingy or anything. I hope I haven't
No,
bored anyone. So yeah,
not at all.
I'm so honoured you asked me to be on. So thank you.
No, absolutely. And great having you on. You know, you've got an amazing story. So that's it for today. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, be sure to rate, subscribe, and leave a review. This really helps to get the content out there. And I want to make this podcast the best possible for you. So go follow Fitter, Faster, Happier on Instagram. That's Fitter, Faster, Happier to leave your questions, comments, and feedback, and for updates and guest requests. All the best for the week ahead, guys. Run happy, live happy, be happy.